to talk about a few things. I have opinions on things. Just got done with Jeff's live feed. Saw that James Best was live. I didn't get that notification. So I don't have any faith in notifications at this point. So we'll see what's going on here. We're getting a couple of people in here. It's an opinion time. I'm not gonna really call it a rant, but it might turn into a rant. Yep. Anyways, because just kind of fed up with a few things. And we're going to talk about who the real enemy of trucking is. And that's going to tick some people off. Okay. I am hard at work, Scott. Been hard at work dealing with this crap, right? So now let's start this on a positive note. I talked to a couple of people that kind of have their act together, and they got other knowledge, other business knowledge outside of the trucking realm, and they're telling me some positive signs of the economy. Like this isn't the big nuclear bomb that was kind of going away, you know. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate that. That's going to help. That's definitely going to help. We'll do some shout outs here, but Charles gets the first one. Thank you for the $9.99. I appreciate that. And we're gonna get some things off my chest here. So as you guys know, I'm a creature of habit. I do a lot of the same loads. You know, even when I was a company guy, the company I was with, we ran a lot of the same stuff. I think the most difficult challenges I faced as a truck driver was in the beginning of my first 2 years, and then also the first 6 months when I was at Landstar. And everything else is easy. I find a groove and I stay in it. I'm all about the gravy trains. If Schneider Landstar had the same load over and over and over, I would ride that train until it wasn't there anymore, because nothing's permanent in trucking. Nothing is permanent in trucking, okay? So there are loads that come out of the caves here in Springfield. I do them all the time. I've actually thought about changing my title of my YouTube channel, you know, to reflect that, but why not, you know. Anyways, you got people wanting to intervene in our business, right? And people like, well, you know, they lifted the hours of service on these food loads to make it easier. Yay, right? But that killed the rates. Here's a perfect example. There's these loads that I pull out of the cave that go to Ohio. I do them all the time. I've got them as high as 15, and they've gone as low as 12. Okay? Now, this is where your rate per day thing comes in. It's a decent rate per mile. The rate per day is you know, 600 a day if it's at 1,200, right? Which is well within my profitability, which Spectre talked about last night. And the only negative aspect of the slows, it was a 2-day transit. So you picked it up on Monday, you delivered it Wednesday morning. You know, pretty easy drive. So it gives you a 8-hour drive. You know, and that particular customer keeps switching brokers. So, you know, the brokers are cutting each other's throats. And now I see why this particular broker has these loads. So I called on this load. I'm trying to find the best, I'm trying to do a load where I get a day off for the weekend, but also to stay under the load, so Monday or Tuesday I'm rolling. It's a holiday weekend, so that's putting an extra day transit on things, which I understand, they can't pay for that, right? So I called on this load, and this is the second time I've called this one brokerage, and I'm like, I'm looking at blah, 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 blah. And he's like, yeah, that's, it picks up at 11 a.m. Friday and delivers at 6 a.m. Saturday. 684 miles. He's like, what kind of rate do you need? I'm like, whoa, hold the horses here. That can't be done legally. Well, I know you could probably still get a break in, no. So I had to explain a few things in the hours of service. I said, if they usually take 2 hours to load, so I'm going to leave Springfield at like 2 o'clock and then expect it to be at 6 a.m. the next day. I know they don't take overnight parking. So how is that even possible? Well, it's what do they call it? A COVID relief load? Oh, okay. Well, all right, just out of curiosity, what rate are you looking at? Oh, 800. Is there any chance going higher? It's a holiday weekend. No, 800. That's all I got in it, right? Number one, people have been taking it for 800. Now, if you look at it, the daily rate, well, it's $800 in one day, but it delivers Saturday. What am I going to find on a Saturday? Slim to none on that, right? And that's where, they're talking about easing hours of service restrictions. Does anybody not realize that the spike of 2018 was because of the ELD regulations being put in place? So if you want to run illegally, yeah, you can make some money. As far as like before ELDs, the mandating ELDs kind of even the playing field a little bit. And so what happened was the brokers adjusted to that. So a lot of loads went to teams, but they didn't pay team rates. And eventually everybody had to kind of catch up and adjust. And the shippers did too. And so now they're able to do that load for a lower rate and disregard hours of service. So I have absolutely no leverage because of drivers and the government stepping in and screwing things up. This whole issue about broker transparency and a cap on rates and all this crap. You guys realize that you're making it worse, okay? Now I'm not a friend of the broker. I'm not defending brokers. I'm not a broker, okay? But here's the deal. And this is what's explained. If I want to buy a new truck today, and I bring this truck into trade, okay? And the sales guy goes, well, we can only give you 15 for your truck. Well, that's what I owe on it, right? So that doesn't help me. And sorry, I got a phone call. And but if the sales guy knows how to manipulate numbers and they're just worried about the profit from the new truck, they can manipulate that numbers to make it look like I'm paying X amount, as long as sorry about that, as long as they can make the numbers work and they get the profit that they need off the new truck. It's a numbers manipulation thing. So if there's any kind of transparency that's going to be forced on the brokers, guess what? The numbers will be manipulated differently. That's what smart business people do. They manipulate the numbers to their advantage. Oh, there's a new set of rules. Do you guys remember cell phone plans? Do you guys remember when cell phone plans were pretty simple? X amount of dollars for X amount of minutes. Remember that? And then you got free weekend night minutes and all that crap. Do you remember when it was just like you went in, you got a phone for free as long as you stayed with them for 2 years, and then it was just a simple flat $30 a month or $40 a month, right? Do you guys remember that? And now what do? They complicate it. I've done videos about this years ago about complicating the system. Because I guarantee you that if a person who's educated can complicate a system and fool a person who isn't educated, they're going to make money off of you. And most brokerage firms have way more education than you do as a driver on how logistics works. It's not, everybody thinks that a broker is just some moron in his pajama pants sitting at home with no bills. That's not how it works. Now, we get that impression by some of the ones that we talk to, but the reality is that usually that person you're talking to is working for a bigger brokerage firm who does know all the ins and outs. They do know the regulations. They do know what they need. They do have overhead, right? So it's a manipulation of numbers. So transparency isn't going to work. And so when I was watching Coach's live feed last night, and it was pretty much doesn't change anything. So if I know a broker's getting $2,000 and my job is to outbid anybody else to be able to pull that load, well, if I'm sitting here next to the guy with the W9 and he's got a bigger truck payment, he's got less fuel mileage, his cost per mile is 30 cents higher than mine, I can outbid him by 20 cents a mile and still profit more than he does. So guess what? Transparency didn't solve that problem, did it? And so what's going to happen if transparency is inflicted on these brokers? Guess what? They're going to find a different way to manipulate those numbers. If they get a cap, they're going to find a different way to manipulate those numbers. Or someone's going to come in with a platform that will completely change the game. I guarantee you it won't be in your favor as the driver. Plain and simple. Name one thing that the government has done or this industry has done that's been to our advantage in the last 20 years. I'll wait. Provost, I see you in there. I need to talk to you later. So after you get back from your golf and you're relaxed and you don't feel like talking, go ahead and call me. I'm going to call you before I bid on it, but don't you be mad at me, Suspector. And, Inspector brought up that point, and it's about profitability. You can have paid off equipment, and you can have the biggest expenses in the world. That's what defines how your business survives or not. And so people are like, well, we need hours of service lifted to be able to do these loads. Well, you just took all the leverage away, and yeah, I could do that load. I mean, I've got no problem doing a COVID relief load, but now I'm doing it for 40% less. So I'm working harder for 4% less, and it doesn't put me in a much better situation. How do I profit off of that? Whereas if I had a little bit of leverage, hey, that's a 2-day run, it's a holiday weekend, I need about 10% more than what you've been averaging on these lanes, because that's the leverage. And it's hard to find leverage right now because freight's not in our favor. It's changing a little bit, but that's what created the spike in 2018, right? And so what happened in 2018? Everybody went out and bought a truck and trailer and 2 cents in. Well, there's a lot of people that enter this business that don't have any clue, and therefore they think they can run illegal, or they think that $1.20 is good. Maybe it is, but if you bought a new truck and trailer, probably not. Or they just don't know how to manage their expenses or whatever, what have you. And, so it's frustrating. So there's a lot of hate and discontent and everything on the Facebooks, the YouTubes, and everything. But the reality is, we are our own worst enemy. We can all get up there in the Washington D.C. and we can, and look, I admire them for standing up for us. But here's the thing: what good is it going to do? And if something happens that is in our favor, I will be very surprised, because as far as I know, there hasn't been one thing that's been to our advantage. Except, well, I mean, but it depends on perception. If the ELD, I looked at the ELD as a positive thing, and I got hate for it. Number one, it wasn't a huge adjustment for me because I've been on ELDs for a long time. And number two, I had an advantage over the guys that hadn't dealt with ELDs before because I knew how to manage my clock. I knew how to manipulate the system. There's that word again. And so now I had some leverage, right? But what that also did was, now the mega carriers, it gave them an advantage, so they could relay these loads. So if there was a 900-mile load that needed to be done in one day that can't be done legally anymore, well, I mean, it wasn't done legally before anyways, but you can make it look good. Well, now that mega carrier can just do a shuttle, can do what do you call it? Relay. So it's a one-day run still. So, anyways, let's do some shout-outs. And we got Charles Brandt, Adam Gallagher, Don Schonger, not with Truck and Scott, Charles Brandt. I looked upset. I was eating eggs. I was laughing. I was just kind of concentrating on stuff there. Adam Gallagher, Scott, Big Face Trucker here, Nathan Galloway over Tax, Minnesota, Daniel Adami, RRJ, RD, you guys and your letters. Pale Rider TV hates the fact that I'm doing working hour live streams. Nothing witty. Out here, now all those guys in Washington are trying to get ELDs thrown out altogether. Capacity would go way up, rates way down. Truck and Scott is absolutely right. If ELDs get thrown out the window, wrap. We're done. Guys, you got to realize that it was the Teamsters that put hours of service regulations in the first place. And a lot of shippers and receivers would keep you for 10, 12, 16 hours and then still expect that load up in New York, the next day. And I know that for a fact, because that was around the time that my dad was an owner-operator. I know the stuff that he had to pull off. There's a reason why truckers were known at that time to do a lot of, mini-thins and speed, because how else are you going to do 1,000 miles a day to try to get a delivery done, And so the hours of service was trying to put a cap on that and try to keep the shippers and receivers, they would totally take advantage of us. Rick LP, Big Houston, he said, hey to Provost. No one gets in business to make minimum wage. Absolutely, Jose. Dirty Broke. It's time that you look at the way the government treats you and learn. Start a truckers consortium for insurance, fuel, and maintenance. Buy in bulk. Get smart. Don't be a one-man show. Red Pepper, I don't know why you got hidden. But you should be back now. OTR David, what's up? Dirty Broke. Overtax, am I going to have to take your wrench away? Dang it. What brand is your desk? Where did you get it? This is like one of them Road Pro things. I believe it's Road Pro. Other trucker, James Best, is late. He is late. James Best wanted me to go live at 4 a.m. today. I'm like, I ain't you. Gus, what's up? It's look, to survive in business, you have to be able to see opportunity where others don't, and you have to be able to manipulate numbers, whether it be credit, or profit, or I mean, numbers are always being rearranged. I mean, if anybody's ever negotiated for a house, what happens? You mess around with the numbers to make it look good. And as long as you get this item for this price, you're good. Truck numbers are the same way. Cars are the same way. And it's all about manipulating the numbers. Brad Weeks, what's up? Red Pepper, Charles Brandt. Hey, James. Provost is flipping James off. It's funny. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that we are our own worst enemy. And there's a lot of people that don't know what profitability even is. Spectre kind of proved it last night. And, it's kind of like, if you take a load from Columbus to Mechanicsburg, and it's 45,000 pounds, and you take the same load out of Columbus and take it to Indianapolis, or whatever the same mileage equivalent would be. The load pays the same fuel mileage, or not the same fuel mileage. The load pays the same revenue-wise, right? Same weight. That was what I was saying. Which load is going to profit more? Which load is going to profit more? Probably the one going west to say, we'll call it Kansas City. Why is that? Because you got tolls and you've got mountains through the Pennsylvania that will take away your fuel mileage. So your cost per mile on that run will be higher. Your variable cost will be higher. And you're going to take a harder hit out of Pennsylvania than you will Kansas City. So, profitability. Which load has more profitability, right? And there's a lot of people that don't understand that. There's a lot of people that don't realize that. And so they want the government to step in to help them. Everybody gets a trophy mentality. And what you got to realize is that there's no such thing, I said in the beginning that ELDs kind of created a level playing field. Yeah. But the ones that have the better advantages, like the mega carriers, were able to capitalize on that. So when the rates spiked, they saw an opportunity and gobbled up a lot of the spot freight. And boom, next thing you know, 2018, we're all crying because rates are lowering. There's too many trucks entering the field, and a lot of these people didn't know how to, run or utilize their situation, and so they're like, we need this for this, we need this for this. The government help us. Government help us. It's the government that put us in this position in the first place. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember the fact that it's the government's reaction to this virus that has put us in the situation that we're in? On top of our own weaknesses that we were already dealing with in 2019, but there were signs that there was going to be an upswing, for the beginning of 2020. If I'm profitable at $1.10 a mile and you're not, sucks to you. Says Pro. That's the reality of it, right? That is the reality. So there's never, ever going to be an even playing field. Never. So quit thinking the government's going to give you that even playing field. There's illusions of a playing field, but eventually the one who manipulates the best, or the one that performs the best, or the one that has the best perception will profit. Now, if I want to get a new truck, I have to run numbers in my head. I have to come up with a business plan. How can I make that work? I definitely have to change how I run. How I'm running now wouldn't work, right? So now I have to educate myself and learn what it would take and do a mock scenario, do a business plan, and figure out what the real numbers are. I have to look at truck payment, warranties, fuel consumption. You know, what's the worst case scenario if things go south? You know, things of that nature. And a lot of people don't do that. They knock on Schneider or Swift or whatever store, like, hey man, I don't have any credit, and I don't have much money, but I want to drive a brand new truck and make money. Okay, well, we can do that for you. And that's the extent of it. And the ones that do the research and the ones that have a game plan, like Big Face Truck or Chucky or bigrigceo, they succeed at the Schneider finance thing, right? But the ones that don't take the time to do that, to educate themselves, sometimes the best education is just doing it, right? I had a very, very successful friend that told me that. Sometimes that's the best learning tool. Just throw yourself into it. No regrets, right? But once you're into it, that's how you learn, right? And it's a school of hard knocks that teaches you at that point. But you got to do your research. So the guys at Schneider that are managing those high payments, and the ones that learn and adapt and are flexible and sacrifice, those are the ones that make it. And the ones that become kind of prima donnas, I refuse to do this, I refuse it. Don't wanters, I think, is what the term Brian Garner uses. Don't wanters. You become a don't wanter. In a market like this, you're done. And now here's the beauty. If you have that high-end payment and you survive that, and then suddenly you're able to lower your costs, boom, it's a shoo-in, right? And I had an advantage over all the SFI guys because I had lower costs than they did, and a truck that was just as reliable. Is that fair? Well, that's the illusion. There's no such thing as fair in a free market. I think that's where everybody's kind of disillusioned. Nothing's fair in life. If a lion is looking at a herd of yaks and eats one, the lion's like, hey, this is fair. There's like 20 of these things, and I'm going to grab at least one. He thinks it's fair. The poor yak doesn't think it's fair. So if you expect the government to come in and make things fair, that goes against the laws of nature. That goes against the law of everything that this country was set about. So if you sit there like, well, the brokers have an advantage because they have the real number, so they're lying to you when they say that, they're that's all they got in it. Okay, so how does it change when I know what they got all in it? Okay, they can't lie to me. Okay, big deal. What now? What next? And that was a point that was made over and over in Coach's live feed lesson. And it was like, but no one had the answer. How is that supposed to help? All it's going to do is make the people that don't know how to negotiate now got a little bit of a leverage tool. But who's going to actually succeed from that? The people that have the lower cost, the people that know how to manipulate that number. And the broker's going to figure something out to keep that from being a problem. So it didn't change anything. Look at the healthcare. I remember back in 1997, 96, 97, I was on a HMO. $20 copay on everything. And, $100 in an ER. $200 for an ER out-of-network visit, right? It was simplified, and it worked, and it was reasonably priced. Okay? That went away because that system wasn't working for the insurance companies. That system wasn't working for the healthcare system. So now we're complicating and we're murking the waters, and okay, we got this kind of copay, and then we got this kind of deductible, and then next thing you know, at the end of the day, your paycheck's got more money taken out and you got less benefits, and there's not a dang thing you can do about it. So the government says, you know what? We'll come up with something that will change that. Well, no, it didn't change the root of the problem. So how did Obamacare help the situation? They still charge like $100 for this aspirin, right? They still, doctor's visit can still cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. All it did was force you to have insurance. And if not, you got the insurance that the government gives you, So how did that change? It didn't change the root of the problem, which was the insurance companies. So that's the thing that just completely mystifies me. I am not a highly educated man. I finished high school and I took 2 years of vocational in auto body repair. That's it. That's what I've done. Yet I seem to have more common sense than a lot of these people that have business degrees. And it goes down to basics. I've watched company after company go by the wayside because of weird, small, stupid decisions that they made. And because they lost their roots, they lost the origin of what they started to do. I saw many restaurants go under because of themselves. We are our own worst enemy. And I've been saying that for years. You see it on Facebook, you see it on YouTube. We are our own worst enemy. Gus Massive, thank you for the $10. I appreciate that. All right, Provost, call me later. Not my job to worry about your bank account. Exactly, Brugger. Nomadic Trucker. What's up, Christian Trucker? The app just needs to outrun the slowest act to survive. Absolutely. So that's fair to the other. Is that fair to the other acts? Absolutely not. Life is not fair, people. If I go out of business tomorrow, it will be because of me. Okay? Now, if some unforeseen thing, like I got in an accident, I get crippled, or something drastic happens at home that I absolutely have to go home and my business doesn't survive that, that's still me. Is it fair? No. But what is? Name one thing in life that's fair. And you'll see that's the law of nature, right? Life ain't fair. Ain't fair never has been what you make of it, right? 2005, I had Blue Cross Blue Shield 80/20 family plan. Now it is over $2,000, right? So how did that healthcare reform help that, right? Right, RJ? Free healthcare for all. You get what you pay for, says Christian Trucker. Every time government does anything, it's worse in the end, right? We're on the street, we're getting another stimulus check. Is that true? I have no idea. I've really I have a complete distrust of all press and all media. I really do. And now it's getting to the point that some things are being censored and other things are not. And so you don't know what's true, you don't know what's not. The CDC just passed a thing yesterday, or put out a article yesterday that, maybe we don't have to worry about services that much. Just like the mask thing, they said that in the beginning, masks were not necessary. In fact, we don't want you wearing masks. And then they said, wait a minute, no, you need to be wearing masks. In fact, go ahead and make a rule. And then now they're saying that, well, masks are worse for you than not wearing a mask. So meanwhile, you got people in companies and industries and media like grandstanding things for their agenda. You had a very interesting talk today with someone that we're talking about some of these real big YouTubers, like the guys in the 50 and 100,000 sub range, and how it's a business. And it's not about even their true core content. It's about how do they manipulate the numbers. There's that word again, manipulate the numbers. How do you manipulate the analytics? You know, how do you make a viral video and you know, and go for the big payoff? Some of these guys are making $4,000 and $5,000 a month just doing YouTube videos because they know how to manipulate the numbers. How's that fair to a guy like me? I don't know how to manipulate the numbers, obviously. I've been stuck at 3,600 for quite a while now. Well, it's your content, Steve. Well, no, I know people with much crappier content than I have that are making way more views and da 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 da. That's not fair. Well, guess what? Life's not fair, right? Government fixes one problem and creates 5 more. Job security. There it is. Manipulation of numbers. Live your life as normally as possible and avoid the fake news. That's absolutely correct. So here's the thing. If we get another stimulus check, awesome. Okay? But I'm not counting on it. I'm really not. Gone are the days when I live paycheck to paycheck. Gone are the days when I'm hoping my tax return will pay this stuff off, that kind of thing. And I always prepare for the worst. And if I want to do something like buy a new truck and I can't quite make the numbers work in my head, I will ask the people that are doing it, that are making it work, and can educate me on how to come up with a business plan. So for the guy that is fresh out of CD school that doesn't even know what a business plan is, but he wants to become a lease operator, I have an advantage over that person. I've got years of experience, so I can schedule loads better. I have more knowledge of companies, so I've got that over them. And then also, I've got tools in place already that would help me succeed where that person still has to develop them. Is that fair to that guy? Or is it fair to me? Depends on how you look at it. So forget fair. You're never going to get a fair shake. Do the brokers have an advantage over you? Absolutely. Absolutely they do. And I think that's what makes everybody mad. Oh, the brokers have this advantage. They know what they're getting from the shipper. We don't. Well, how's that going to change anything? If they don't want to go below a certain number on moving a load, then they don't. But there's always going to be someone that's going to push that price down. It's the plain man. If you have 100 trucks in one small town, guess what? I mean, the lowest bidder wins. Have you guys ever watched that show, Shipping Wars? It is the most ridiculous, stupidest show I've ever seen in my life. But yet, it's the reality of our situation if that broker transparency occurs. Because, there's a big number, right? There's a big number right there. And each driver in that show puts the bid in on a certain load. They have all the load details. They know what it entails, what equipment's going to take. And then each person outbids the other one. It's a race to the bottom. And again, I can go lower than the guy next to me with the W9 because my costs are lower. And I could actually profit more. I could probably make $200 less on the top revenue, but then probably bring home and profit $200 more because my costs are a lot lower than that person's. That's not fair, is it? What is fair? Everybody gets a trophy. How many people have complained that the reason our society is the way it is now is because we have this everybody gets a trophy mentality now. And so it's no wonder that people are on the social media crying about this and crying about that. You know, and that's just the reality of the situation. If I want to succeed in this business or continue to succeed, if I want to accomplish certain goals, it is completely and all up to me. And that, to me, it's learning tricks of the trade, how to manipulate numbers, how to manipulate business credit, how to manipulate the numbers to make them work for me. And then have an edge over that person next to me by having a relationship with the broker that's not going to ring for $800 profit on a load. You know, that realize that it's important to move the load just as much as it is to profit. So, you know, and guess what? If the brokers ain't profiting, guess what? They go by the wayside. So now your relationships that you have with those brokers are gone. They're done, right? And so now you got to develop a new broker. Like this particular broker that's got these, you know, Springfield to Ohio loads, I've seen that change 4 times. And every single time I've been able to get in there and really, you know, hey man, what's up? I do these all the time. I provide excellent service. I'm always on time. I never have any issues. You know, I'm even lenient. If there's like an hour's worth of detention, I'll let it slide. You know, I don't, you know, I do my check calls and everything else. And the like broker's like, oh, awesome. Then, you know, 2 months later, oh, we don't have those anymore. We lost that contract. Okay. Well, who's got it? Well, so-and-so broker. Well, they're showing up red on Factors Network or you know, they're manipulating the system to where that load's no longer profitable. You all be better careful what you're saying about capitalism, doggy dog. The average owner operator made a lot more money 40 years ago than today's owner operator. Explain that. I will, Captain Jack. I will explain that. The reason why is because the cost of everything keeps going up. Yet our mindset is still the same. So therefore, nothing changes in our favor. It goes back to what I was saying. Nothing that the government has done has changed in our favor. So, for example, if, you know, hours of service, if you knew how to manipulate the paper system, you can make more money than the guy that was completely legal, right? And so back then, back in the 80s, trucks were what? $80,000 for a brand new one? Now they're almost double that. Okay? What was labor? What was diesel fuel? So the rates remain the same because that's what we were on, and you know, but everybody manipulated the system to make more money off of us. And also, as James Best has pointed out, that if it was a gangbusters market all the time that went with the inflation of everything else, goods across the land would be a lot higher. It'd be $10 for a gallon of milk. And a perfect example of that is like it was New York. You know, just I remember I went through the New York Thruway, and I couldn't believe the prices, the inflation. You know, the same reason why people, you know, can make minimum wage and still have to have 2 jobs, whereas like 4 years ago, that $15 an hour was like awesome. So it's a manipulation of the numbers. So it's corporatism. We don't have capitalism anymore, Captain Jack. We have corporatism. And corporatism does not work in our favor. It is not fair to the small business owner. Think about the situation the government put us in. Everybody shut down except for Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's and Costco. Okay, so the small hardware store that was struggling already can't sell hammers, but Walmart can? How's that fair? The corporations were able to stay afloat. The McDonald's, the Walmart, the Ruth's Chris that got all the money for the EIDL. You know, hell, there was a guy on Coach's channel that called in that is a 1-truck operation. He got a triple P loan for $117,000. You know, and look at tolls. You know, tolls increase every year. I've watched the tolls that I run go up like 15% every year. And you know, but my rates stay the same. You know, that's not fair. But that's not capitalism, that's corporatism doing that. Competition makes us better, smarter, stronger. I'm living life my terms, not someone else wants me to. Rick retracted his message. Truck for life. Bruger co-ops, only way to compete with the big boys in the future, just like the farmers did. And you know what, Bruger, that is probably something that, you know, that's a changing of the system. So if the system doesn't work, it goes back to what I said the other day. If the system doesn't work, you know, either got to change your platform or find a way to manipulate the system. And so if it went co-op and everybody benefited from that, that'd be great. But somebody somewhere is going to step up and take advantage of that and make it an unfair situation again. Speaking of fuel economy, there's a lot of morons buying classic long nose trucks. Why? Rick, I can see the appeal to those trucks. And if you're hauling generic dry van freight, it's probably not feasible. But if you're hauling tanker or flatbed, sometimes it's about the horsepower. Sometimes it's about the durability. A 389 is a lot more durable than, you know, your Cascadia. So majority, a large percentage of people that are running a big hooded truck, it's not about fuel efficiency, it's about performance. It's about, you know, it's usually specialized. You know, specialized kind of freight that pays better, so it doesn't really hurt their bottom line. You know, if you're hauling tanker and 80,000 pounds all the time, you know, fuel mileage really isn't an issue. But if you're hauling generic dry van freight, you know, fuel mileage isn't, you know, is one of the ways to profit, and that's where I think it's not a great idea. But people like them. There's a lot to be said for people that buy a truck that they actually want. You know, and usually people don't trade those in every 3 or 4 years. They make those work. So. Did I apply for any loans? No. I got the EIDL. Was offered the triple P, but I did not take it. And I haven't even filed for unemployment or anything like that. Because even though I could, I don't, the less the government's in my business, the better. And so let's use that guy that got the $117,000 triple P loan. And there was good and bad with that. The good part is he basically got his truck and trailer refinanced. He used that money to pay off his truck and trailer. So he obviously, that 3.75% that he got is a lot better than whatever percentage he was paying on the truck and trailer. However, you know, so basically he's using government-backed money to do what he needs to do. However, when you rely on the government for something, guess what? They're all up in your business. And I've heard from many people that are successful that the fine print of those loans is something to be kind of fearful for. And so let's say that I wanted to do the unemployment thing, right, but still ran my truck. So now I got to worry about how I show the money, you know, so it doesn't look like I've done anything wrong, right? So, and so it's a lot of like manipulation to try to hide stuff from the government of to make sure that I show that this money did this and this money did that. And, you know, in the end, I really don't want them even looking at that. I don't want, you know, it's like, hey, nothing to see here, move along. And sometimes the best way to get through a market is to just survive. Now, if I hurt my leg, or if I get sick, or if truck burns down to the ground, yeah, we'll collect that, you know. But, or if my wife gets laid off, but you know, it's set up to where My son, who's never worked a job in his life, could get COVID relief unemployment, right? But what kind of message am I sending to my son by doing that? And we don't need that money. We're not hurting. We're not living paycheck to paycheck. So the less I can manipulate the government system when I don't have to, the better. And that's that's kind of like, yeah, the government put us in this position in a way, but we've been very blessed with the situation that we have. We just found out some good news yesterday. So it's so I didn't apply for the loans. I don't knock anybody who did apply and get the loans. Let me get that straight. If you want to get the triple P, tear it up, man. Awesome. Good on you. But the less that of me dealing with the government, the better. Because what good's that triple P loan if I never get a tax return again? What good is that triple P loan if now all of a sudden I can't write off certain things? What good's that unemployment that I didn't really need going to do if I never get tax return or if it screws up my tax, So my advice to you, if you want to get if you want to apply for any of these loans, is to talk to an accountant, and they'll tell you the right way and the wrong way, and they'll read that fine print for you. Now, I did get the EIDL. I did get that. Of course, we got the stimulus package, and I got $1,000 from the EIDL. And I even hated to do that, but it did help. It did kind of come in and allow me to stay home for 2 weeks. So there's that. You become a slave to the lender. Absolutely. That's the okay. So let's say I come up to your house, right? Knock on your door. Hey man, I'm gonna loan you $1,000 or $100,000. Well, I didn't really ask for a loan, but okay. Well, what's the terms? Well, 3.75%, but it's over 30 years, man. Well, I don't really need a loan. Hey, why not? Guys, I've got a really good credit score. And when you have a good credit score and you got some credit card balance, and James Best could probably talk about this too, you get offers all the time for these debt consolidation loans. And you get offers all the time. Hey, we'll give you this loan. And then it's that one little fine print that ups your interest rate, right? And so while there is an advantage of what that person did for the $100,000, he paid his truck and trailer off, but now that truck and trailer is on a 30-year note instead of the 5-year note that it was originally on. Well, hell, if all of us can put these trucks and trailers on a 30-year note, guess what? Rates are going to be so low because people can run for 20 cents a mile. Not really, but that's the gist of it. What happens if something happens, you can't pay that loan back? Government pretty much owns your truck and trailer now. Government owns you. If anybody who gives you $100,000, whether they want it back or not, they own you. If I know rich people, right? If one of them called me and say, Steve, I'm gonna write a check for you, man. You pay me back when you can, and we're good, right? I would be like, no, because I'll give you a perfect example. My dad delivered these engines and transmissions to what was probably a mafia place. The guy always paid in cash, and you could tell there was a few things going on there. And one time my dad was making a delivery, and the guy was like, this was in Jersey, so it was like, Tom, with the whole Godfather talk, right? what do you want to do, man? Is there something you want? He's like, well, you know, I'm saving for a boat. I want to get a boat. He's like, he pops down like thousands of dollars right in front of him. Get yourself a boat. You can pay me back later. My dad was like, no, I kind of want to, you know, prove to my kids that, you know, this could be done through hard work and da 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 da. And you know, meanwhile, he knows if the mafia loans you money, they're going to want some favors in return. So essentially, that guy was trying to buy my dad and his services, and he didn't take it. And you know, and now he didn't have to worry about that. You know, and he respected the reasons why my dad turned him down. But see, that's the thing. When someone gives you or loans you or both hands you a large sum of money, they kind of own you. They really do. If they don't own you in your products physically, they own you mentally. Like, you know, like if so-and-so loaned me like $100,000 and I'll just pay me back when you can, well, that's always going to be on my head. Now they live in my head, you know, and if I can't pay them back, you know, that's kind of a crappy thing to do. So that weighs on you morally, and that weighs on you, you know, karma wise, right? And you know, but if that same person that loans me, you know, that big sum of money goes, hey, I really need you to come up to whatever and do this for me, and you feel obliged to help them out, even if you can't. So that's a way of ownership. That's how it works. Bandana's in the house. So anyways, we're going to shorten this video. We're going to give it 4 more minutes, be right in an hour. If you guys got any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know. I appreciate the super chats. Give me a thumbs up. If you hate me or hate the video, put the thumbs down twice. I appreciate that very much. And make sure that you check out the other lame ramblings that I might have. And every now and then I get this weird looking GoPro and I'll make a video with it, and helps you go to sleep at night. So. Timmy Jackson's in the house. But the reality is this, guys. We are our own worst enemy. I am my own worst enemy. If I want to buy a new truck, I'm going to have to figure it out, right? And I know that I have my own limitations. If I ever want to get my own authority, I have my own limitations, mentally and financially. So I have to overcome them. That's all on me. That's nobody else's responsibility. It's not your responsibility. It's not my government's responsibility. It's not even. It's all on me. Accountability. No one has any accountability anymore, right? What? Nothing, Winnie. It's my fault, right? So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Numbers are dropping, so your attention span is over. So I appreciate it. Keep being profitable. Keep learning. Keep forward. Just survive. Either way, it's all on you. Peace.